Today, as of 2004, Fear Factory is now Raymond Herrera on drums. Christian of the Wolbers has been promoted from bass player to guitar player. Byron Stroud is from Strapping Young Lad, is now playing bass with us. John Bechdel's on keyboards, and Burton C. Bell, which is me, as the front man.
We've actually known Byron for a few years. We originally met him in Vancouver when we were working on Obsolete. He was playing with Strapping at the time, and just kind of got along, you know. We were there in town recording Obsolete, so kind of needed somebody to show us the ropes, show us around, and, you know, kind of somebody to just take us out and hang out with. We had always kind of known, like, in the back of our mind, like, hey, you know, he's a badass guy, really nice guy, good player, you know, really good band. And when it came time to look for a bass player, that was one of the first people that Christian thought of. He's like, hey man, what about Byron?
It is kind of weird. I'm kind of hard on him too, and I feel like I need to, because, you know, I want him to be better than I was in the group. Because, you know, he is a bass player. I was kind of like a guitar player turned bass, but, you know, sometimes he looks at me like, man, you're being hard on me. But, you know, I want it to be tighter than it ever was before, and I think, you know, he's doing a good job though. He looks good. You know, he looks like a guy like, you know, don't fuck with me, I'll beat your ass. I'll crack the space over your head right now. And I love that about him. Like, you know, he looks unapproachable, almost like, you know, he's the sweetest guy. He's the nicest. He's like a little cuddly bear.
Sure enough, you know, we went and tried to get a hold of him, contacted him, and he seemed very, very into the thing. You know, but the other thing is, we know he was still doing a band, so you don't want to really... You want to ask, but you don't want to mess things up for whatever he's doing, or
tampering.
Exactly. But at the same time, we knew that Strapping Young Lad was somewhat of a side project. We knew it wasn't a main band, so probably wouldn't be ruffling too many feathers.
Well, I think the first thing that really helped was we became better friends than we were ever before. Like Raymond, myself, and Bert, we kind of got tighter, better friendship, and that really set the beginning to making this new album.
If anybody has stepped up more than maybe the three of us, it'd probably have to be Christian. You know, when this whole thing pretty much went down, and it was like either, well, yeah, start looking for a guitar player. I never really thought of looking for a guitar player. I always thought that Christian would be like the perfect guitar player. I mean, shit, he was a guitar player before he was a bass player. He was a guitar player when he joined the band. So Christian kind of had to change his whole technique, before he was kind of like the bass player kind of in the background, and now all of a sudden he's like the only guitar player. Like he's the main musical influence now, you know. Not too many people really look at the drummer as like a main musical, like creative focus, you know. It's always, in rock it's usually the guitar player and the singer. So Christian had this kind of more focal point in the band, and he seems to be doing really well with it.
If there is a good energy right there, and, you know, the vibes are good and everybody's happy and comfortable around each other, then, you know, music is not a drag to make, or everything is fun. It's easier to do this thing, you know. So, you know, before the breakup, you know, things weren't fun no more, and, you know, it reflected in our music, and it sucks when you have to go on stage and, you know, play this music, which is really intense and it's kind of painful. You know, it's physically so out there that it becomes painful playing it because it's so intense. And if you not want to be on stage, it's torture. So I think friendship, the three of us, we became better friends than ever. And I think to me that's the most valuable thing about getting back together. I mean, having a great album too, of course, but that was the main thing.
The album name is Archetype, and it's something I've been thinking about for quite some time, for a few years at least, and it's just, you know, archetype means the original model. It means the predecessor, basically, of which all things are copied. And basically, when I first heard these songs on demo, I immediately knew that these were Fear Factory songs from the get-go. It was not forced. It was not trying to emulate anything. It was just strictly Fear Factory, straight up, and that's archetypal of what Fear Factory does.
I think this album is gonna surprise a lot of people.
We kind of like did a very hardcore style. Just, you know, me and Raymond just slapped the song together and let it sit right there, and then looked at it like it's fine. You know, why we try to break it down and try to make something else? This is what the original spark was when we first wrote this song. Let's leave it like this. Let's move on to the next thing.
Raymond and Christian wrote all the music together. And when the song would be finished, they'd send it to me, so I could listen to the music for a while and become familiar and comfortable with it and put lyrics and vocals on it.
Bert would kind of be like, yeah, this is cool, I want to fix this a little bit, I'll change the words here. And then we'd get that back, and then we'd like work with the music again and fix that up, and just until we had the final, something that we were really happy with.
He had a lot of things to get off his chest, and he did so, and he kind of did it in an angry way because he was really pissed off. Because some of the earlier songs we wrote when Roadrunner was not really picking us up, and kind of like, well, the band is dysfunctional. I don't think it's going to work. We want, So it kind of gave us more like, more fire.
A lot of parts, like during the album, during the writing process, we ended up keeping because Bert came up with such a good vocal part for, let's say, a verse or a certain chorus that musically we were like, well, it's not really the best chorus, but when Bert comes in with something strong, it's like we ended up keeping it.
When you listen to the songs, there's a lot of fire and a lot of rage on especially the first song, Slave Labor. Help me pour this gas on me. He's like, Bert's just like fed up with the whole industry, and he still is. But I try to like keep him. He's very like emotional about. He's an artist. He's a writer.
My role in Fear Factory is the lyricist vocalist, and I contributed obviously the lyrics, and the lyrics are very honest, very straightforward. I have not disassociated myself by trying to create some kind of futuristic concept, because with hindsight being 2020, I realized the concept was just pure reality. The reality of Fear Factory for the past few years is more interesting than trying to create a story.
Bert actually had a lot more to do with the writing on this record than ever before, because generally the way we used to do things is we used to write all the music, then once it was completed, then Bert would kind of do his thing. On this record, we wrote blueprints, sent them to Bert. Depending on what Bert came back with, would pretty much decide on whether we would keep certain parts or not keep certain parts. So it was a different way of working for us, and I think it worked out better.
Well, I just wanted to prove to the fans that we were going to make a Fear Factory record. I wasn't trying to change, because I know that's what the kids want to hear. They want to hear a Fear Factory record. They want to hear Raymond do the drum assault that he brings to the table. Like, he's a really big part of this group. So is Bert. That vocal style that he came with 10, 12 years ago. That's what got this band signed in the first place. So for me, I think it was the most important thing for me on this record was, of course, the riffs and the drums to be like Fear Factory, but was that Bert had to feel comfortable, stress-free environment.
Because of the vocals I put on the songs, I end up putting melodies around the guitar parts that Christian created, and due to the melodies I created around Christian, Reese and Steve were able to, put keyboards around it to create this orchestration, and it worked out really well.
When we first got back together, there was a lot of shit talkers and a lot of people that didn't believe that will ever work and it's never gonna happen. We're just here to prove everybody wrong, because this is a sick record. If you like it or not, I think it's a sick record.
Every component that worked on this record worked so smoothly, like ball bearings and a skateboard wheel. It was just so smooth, very well-oiled machine. Greg really mixed the album in Vancouver, and Greg really's been with us since Demanufactured and Obsolete, and Howie Weinberg did the mastering here in New York City. And I must not forget Liquid 8 now. We're a part of Liquid 8 Records out of Minnesota, our new label, very, very independent label, but they're highly charged about this album. They're backing us 125%. I guess it doesn't get better than 100%, but it does get better than 100%.
Raymond is just, he's like such a machine that nothing will get in the way of what he wants, that goal. If there's a beat or a part or a section that he'll get it at one day, at one point. There's no way that, if it's impossible, it's impossible. If Raymond can't play it, it's impossible. For instance, I was using the MPC a lot, the drum machine that they do a lot of hip hop work with, and I laid Raymond's drums all over the machine, and I showed him the machine. It's like, he could hit the pads, wow, the kick drums, and all the sounds of Fear Factory right there. He's like, wow, we can write a record like this. We're making fun, yeah, see, if you break your leg, we can just do it like this, and we're making fun of it. So Raymond was like, oh, let me try and write some beats. So I showed him how to use the MPC. And so me and Raymond started writing the entire record like that. So we never even rehearsed any song of Archetype. And we had all the songs written, and they were all done on a drum machine. So Raymond would look at me, like for instance, the first song on the record was Slave Labor. The drum beat, he looked at me, he goes, I can't play that. I'm like, you can? Good. I knew we were onto something, you know. After all those songs, it was like, okay, let's take all these songs into the practice place and see if we can even play it. So the songs were kind of burning our heads already. So when we went into the practice place, it felt like we were playing Fear Factory songs that we never even played or rehearsed, but we already knew them. So it was kind of like, that was a very awesome feeling actually, because we didn't have to sit there and brainstorm, oh, now we have to write songs. We already wrote the songs at home, just the two of us sitting in front. Sometimes the guitar wouldn't even be on, or I just have it through a little small amp and not even loud. We can still talk while we're playing the songs and we're like, you know, figure the parts out. And we came up with some shit that, you know, makes D-Manufacture look for beginners. You know, and Raymond looked at me, it's like, you know, and I started looking at all the songs, like, what else do we need? Oh, we need something that's just like extra brutal, you know, it's like trying to find the things that the record missed. Let's do a more melodic song, you know. It's like sometimes, and I didn't really think it out, but you can kind of tell and look at your record like, huh, another really heavy song in this.
It's complete.
It's complete, you know what I mean? Exactly so. So, you know, Raymond really stepped up the game. Like drumming wise, when drummers hear this record, I gave the record to Kirk Hammett. I told James Hetfield, listen to the drums. It's the sickest shit you'll ever hear in your life. And he just looked at me like, I'll check it out. You know? And I know Kirk is going to listen to it. He's going to freak out. Everybody's just going to hear those drums. Any drummer, they're just going to sit back like, this is impossible. This guy is not playing this. And the previous Fear Factory records, we would have a lot of digital sounds, so it sounds kind of like it's very Pro Toolish, computerish. And this time, there's little mistakes here and there. Like, you know, there's a part in Cyberbase where Raymond does a roll and he kind of hits the stick, so you kind of hear it a little bit. I'm like, fuck it, leave it like that. That's how it was. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I liked, you know?
I think the way we write our songs, the way we write a lot of, we have, like for instance, we have like categories for certain songs. We have a really long epic songs like Resurrection, where they're really drawn out and there's a lot of keyboards and there's a lot of feel and Bert singing and there's a lot of melody. And you know, some of that was maybe lent from U2 in terms of epicness. Especially, we've got a lot of industrial elements of the band, especially a lot towards the beginning of our careers. And that was probably taken a lot from Ministry, where they were like, you know, the main difference between Ministry and us was probably the fact that I was actually playing drums, whereas in Ministry it's all drum machine driven. But I like to write music the way a drum machine would, the way somebody would program a drum machine. That's the way I kind of take, that's kind of the way I like to write music. So I love to write music in the sense that it's very different in terms of drums because it's all patterns. You know, a lot of metal bands, and I'm not really putting anybody down, but a lot of metal bands, the drummers tend to copy themselves in terms of it's the same 1-2 beats over and over. You know, you do 4 bars of 1-2 beats and then do a roll, and then you go back and do another roll. It's like I took a totally different way of writing music. And if you listen to Fear Factory music, Fear Factory songs, you can tell that a lot of them are drum driven in terms of like, you can tell that a drummer wrote a lot of the songs. So I like that to stand out.
It's definitely the most easiest record I've ever made in my life. And I thought this was going to be the hardest because, you know, I have to take over guitar duties and bass duties. I thought it was going to be, and songwriting duties, and, you know, I thought it was going to be really hard, but it was easier than I ever thought it was going to be.
I had mentioned Ministry before, but Fear Factory was more, at the beginning, the core of the band was to be a metal band, a really heavy band. But, you know, we threw a couple things in there. You know, we added the keyboards. We had a singer that could actually sing and growl. You know, and these were really different ideas at the time, you know. And at the end of the day, I think bands just need to write really good songs. It's good to try to maybe rock the boat a little bit and try to come up with something new. And sometimes trying to come up with something new doesn't really make your songs better.
The songs really grew on us, so in the end, I didn't really wanted to go back and change some of the structures or like try to write for a radio format or try to pick different riffs apart for like 12 months like we did in the past. I thought it was unnecessary. So that's what the song was. That's the original spark. That's what it was going to be. And then Same thing with Bird, we just kept building on the vocals a little bit. Bird would come over every day like, hey, let me do those vocals over again. I can do them better. Let's do them better. Let's, you know. When we enter the studio, it's like wow, we're in the studio. You know, we're actually recording this record. You know, and even when we got on tour and everything, it still didn't grasp to me like, you know, we're in Perth, we're in Australia. Like, wow, we're actually doing this. You know, it's kind of like when I was on the plane flying to Australia, then I realized, wow, we're going on tour, and the nerves start kicking in. You know, the tension and the butterflies. But recording, yeah, that was definitely like wow, we're in the studio, we're doing this. Well, I just didn't really try to think about it too much. I just went with it, and you know, I didn't try to like nitpick it, like, oh, I'm doing these guitars, hopefully I'm going to be able to do it, and this and that. You know, I try to just, let's do it, let's get this out of the way. Kind of like more like, let's get it done. You know, then rather than sit there and nitpick everything. And that was the best way to go about it, I thought. So you know, there was stress factors, but you know, kind of like it's challenging. You know, try to overcome the little obstacles, because there was quite a few after the breakup. Maybe all of a sudden you get a little check, and you can pay like your rent, and you feel more comfortable, because that's a big stress factor. You know, we were on tour with 12 years with Fear Factor. We never even had a house. None of us had houses. Like, you know, only a few of us had a car. Not me. You know, I never had anything, and I toured 12 years with this band. So things are definitely different now, and you know, thank God Roadrunner let us go, because you know that was a big factor continuing as well. You know, getting back to this band, but this band really owns without, you know, getting ripped off and paying back pennies to a record label that, you know, makes, you know, $30 of an album and rips the kids off, and then the band gets blamed because, you know, in the end everybody comes back and looks at the band. Well, why did you do this? Why'd you put this song on the record? Why'd you trying to sell out? You know, fans don't really see it. So, you know, on this record, I just want to have nothing to do with that. I'm just going to come back with the heaviest shit first and, you know, knock everybody over the head. Oh, for sure. Like, the people are crawling to us already, like, oh, can we manage you? Oh, we want to book you guys. You know, and these are people that we called in the beginning, like, what would you guys be interested in? They're like, no, Fear Factor is dysfunctional. It's, you know, it's not the same. Everybody's kind of holding back, and now they're crawling like slugs. So, eat a big one. Eat my Belgian left nut.
Sometimes I have lyrics written beforehand before a song, but I usually don't contribute musically. This is the first time I actually let the guys, you know, work on the music without me being there, and it was a great experiment. It actually worked to the advantage. I had more time to work on the lyrics and focus on the lyrics and focus on the vocals without having to worry about arranging and trying to figure out how things are going to work out. Christian and Raymond knew exactly what they wanted to do. Lyrically, I have ideas. I jot down notes on my papers and stuff, and you know, put everything together. And through the notes I make, I create lyrics. And when I hear the song, I just put I put titles to songs that sound like, well, this song sounds like this song sounds like a slave labor type of song. Or this song sounds like a drone type of song, and the lyrics just come forward. It's just kind of real fluid type of mechanical type of stuff. It's kind of hard to explain, really. No, you know, it just kind of fits together. It's, you know, I'm lucky that way, where I hear the songs and I'm able to, like a puzzle, I'm able to work things into it, and you know, I'll work lyrics into it and make lyrics fit, and you know, it's just kind of puzzling, and it's rather entertaining. It's rather fun, and you know, it pushes me to, you know, a very high creative limit where I can be able to do that sort of thing. I'll say all the lyrics on this album of Archetype speak for themselves. There's no hidden meaning. There is no subtlety. It's straightforward. It's upfront. It's very honest, like I said before. Slave labor. Every title generates a certain idea, and that's everyone can understand. And for instance, slave labor is about basically dealing with contracts that, you know, indentured servitude, you know, and being stuck in some place that you don't really want to be. I think I'm not the only one that can understand that. I think a lot of people in this world can understand the idea of slave labor, and when they read the lyrics, they'll understand. The song "Corporate Cloning" is another straightforward title. It's about how the record industry, the music industry, creates artists solely for the purpose of generating a money kind of bank account. The music industry will kind of forget about the art and just focus on the product. A very good example is American Idol. I feel sorry for those people on that show, who go for that because they really don't understand. I feel they really don't understand what they're getting into. The price of fame has a big price when you're trying to go for a big music industry. Bite the hand that bleeds is a play on words of bite the hand that feeds you. Bite the hand that bleeds is a take where is another on a song where instead finally getting back at the person or persons that are bleeding you dry of all your soul, bleeding you of your personality, bleeding you of money, and really seeing nothing in returning, really getting no respect back. Human Shields is a good song. It's a song that deals with a very topical point in these days where war, our government will go to war in the name of us, the people, and stand behind the people and use us as shields, not only in foreign places but here as well. The song Archetype is a very personal account of how I have felt about this band and being in this band for the past few years. This very personal record, and I believe everybody will sense that when they read the lyrics.
Cyberbass is directed to all those people talking shit on the internet. Eat a big one.
When I first heard the music of that song, it just blew me away. I really haven't heard a Fear Factory song like that in a long, long time.
I understand that people like to talk and do the little thing, but there's just straight up people that just are online and spend their valuable hours in their lifetime talking shit about other bands. Do something better with your life, you know what I mean?
And lyrics, and when I heard the song, I put these lyrics to it and it just fit perfectly. And the song is called Cyber Waste, and it deals with particular internet forums and the people on those forums who don't really know facts and who are willing to talk shit behind a cyber screen, and they feel that they're really big and powerful when they're on their computer. And I guarantee you that if I ever saw these people in real life, they would be a supplicant and kiss my ass. And it's a very fuck you type of song to all these people who don't know, who like to talk shit and don't know what the hell they're talking about. And this is a song that we wanted to highlight because it's just brutal. It's a good song to not return, but to highlight for our fans that have missed some heavy music from Fear Factory over the years.
The song is just like, nothing you say matters to us. Fuck. Any kid, when somebody's parents comes in let's say your dad comes in the bedroom, turn the music down, do your homework. Fuck. Turn that song on, This has that, to me, I always thought it had that, that rage vibe, like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, kind of like that rebellious thing. And I thought it was awesome. It's you'll hear that line twice and it sticks in your head.
We are considering covering, Fear Factory has always covered songs from the very beginning of our history. Of course, we just covered School by Nirvana. But we are considering doing a lot more cover songs, maybe even for just like an EP of covers, but it won't be for Archetype. But we'd like to cover some songs of, some of our favorite bands that have influenced us over the years, and I think that'll give our fans a good insight of where our inspiration comes from, and hopefully we'll introduce our fans to some of our favorite musicians over the years, and they can go out and check them out and learn to see where we all come about.
When a band does a cover, I want that band to sound like, if Slayer does a cover, I want Slayer to sound like Slayer doing that cover. And I wanted, when Bert brought up, like, let's do a cover maybe. So we started thinking about covers, and Bert brought up Bleach, and I was like, oh, let's do it. Like, I'm a big fan of that record. And Bert picked exactly the song I covered with my band back 15, 16 years ago. I'm playing a little better now, but the song, I knew that I had to take that song and make it into a Fear Factory song. And a lot of people they cover Nirvana? Oh, that's gay, But once you hear the song, I think somebody's going to be turning over in his coffin when they hear that song. Good boy, Kurt. He's going to turn over. It's like, oh shit, that shit's heavy. It's heavy. We made it into like a monster, and it's so raw that it's just like when it goes to the solo part, we took it different. We made it into like a ministry song, basically. It's really good. It's a good cover. I mean, Nirvana was such a great band, and what they did to music today is like only a few bands have done something like that. So.
We actually started working on remixes halfway through the writing process of the new album, and actually one of the remixes is already out. It's on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack. So that was kind of rare too, that we put out a remix song before the album even hits. But there will definitely be an Archetype remix album. We have been working on it, and we're actually planning to maybe release it Christmas of this year, 2004. What we mean by, the way we say remixes is we'll take a song and just totally change it to either some kind of maybe a techno to maybe electronica rock, cutting up the guitars, adding different beats, cutting up Bert's vocals. I mean, like almost making entirely new songs out of the same songs. Our remix tracks seem to be the ones that movie companies want, and video game companies want. Because they pretty much take like the metal, the heaviness from the metal side to the electronic part of like electronic music and just kind of blend them together. It makes the songs, for the lack of a better term, it makes them a little more mainstream, and that's why movie companies like them, and that's why video game companies like them, because it's still something that if a 13-year-old kid is playing, it's not going to be offensive or anything like that. So, but it's just cool. It's good to take songs and create them and make them something different than what they were originally intentioned to be. It just kind of shows a different side of Fear Factory. Over the years, people have always thought that Dino had everything to do with the band in terms of look, in terms of music, in terms of lyrics, in terms of everything, because he kind of set that tempo. He kind of told everybody that. So what happens is now that this new album's coming out and he has nothing to do with it, it's going to surprise a lot of people. It's going to really prove that the band had a lot more to do than just Dino. And everybody has so much to prove on this record that everybody really did prove what they needed to prove. And it really is going to solidify the fact that, Fear Factory wasn't one person. Fear Factory was the culmination of all these people. And that's clearly going to show on this album when you hear it. I mean, fans that have heard it already, they believe it's more Fear Factory than Fear Factory. So that says a lot, and it makes me happy.
I already closed that whole issue. For me, it's just like, I want to have a record out and everybody, the fans look at us like, wow, you guys fucking made a great record. I love it. To me, that was the most important, like from artwork to a video. I want to do all the things that I never had a chance contributed to this band. Like, I told this band so many times, let's do a live video, let's do a simple live video, let's do the kids in there, let's do, there was always a big concept involved, or like, some guy throwing a sword at a cross and all this concept, and I just wanted to have us in the video, like just like how bands like Pantera and Metallica did it. You see the players. I always missed that about Fear Factory. It was never about the players. This record, I want to make it about the band, about us, who we are, not necessarily a concept. And I mean, concepts are great, we did them all, so but I kind of wanted to do this record and just I want to play the songs and see the crowd explode, go ballistic.
Fear Factory is definitely a generating machine right now, and we have been working on, everyone in the band has been working on other projects. For instance, Raymond and Christian have been working on a project with Be Real and Stefan from Be Real from Cypress Hill, Stefan from Deftones, and they have a project called Kush, and that's really cool. And they're working on dealing with contracts with major labels over there. John and I are working on a project called Ascension of the Watchers, which is highly different from Fear Factory. but we're in the state of recording more demos, trying to develop the sound, become a little bit more comfortable with writing, and John Bechtel also has a band called False Icons that he's been working on for a couple years and developing. Byron Stroud also is in a band called Strapping Young Lad and Zimmer's Hole, and I believe it's important that everybody keeps busy. In the interim away from Fear Factory, I think it's important to keep the creative energy very high, and I'm very supportive of what everybody wants to do.
As a guest, well, this is probably gonna have to be Bono or something. We're all big U2 fans, and I mean, there's a lot of bands I would want to do it, but that's just that one band that, you know, if he would walk in a room to do a guest appearance, I think we would all just freeze. You know, even more so than I had a chance to audition for Ozzy, and that didn't really. It was awesome auditioning for Ozzy. We played with Ozzy many times, so I didn't really feel strange when he walked into the room. I was like, hey, there's Ozzy again. But when Zakk Wylde was standing in front of me playing leads on Crazy Train and bumping me in the shoulder and looking at me like, yeah, that was just like, I kind of like, whoa, you know, because he's such an icon. If you're a guitar player and you don't like Zakk Wylde, you have no business playing guitar, right? I mean, I can see a lot of cool collaborations with Fear Factory, but you know, in the end, fans are really, the fans seem to be more irritated if they don't like the person. I'm not saying I never wanted to do a song with Gary Newman, I thought it was awesome, but I never wanted it to be a single and a big deal. I wanted it to be like a bonus track. Somehow, the label sees it being their big, you know, Orgy had the big single that was a cover at the time, and so they kind of like stuck at the forefront, and it got added to radio, and then they made a video and all that, but I wasn't into that. I don't want to do like Cyberways. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to do that soft shit no more. Did have done that, all that watered down. That's what this record, I told everybody we're coming out with the heaviest shit we got on the record first. Fuck all this watered down shit, we can do that shit later. You know, it's like, I want to get all these metal kits back, you know, soak them up like a sponge. Future of Fear Factory, we're just gonna tour our asses off, trying to like tour with every band that we can possibly tour, every country, every state. I was on all these festivals, and I just want to go out there and destroy and you know, make this, you know, this is what I want to do. You know, I don't want to flip burgers or work at McDonald's, so it could be worse. So life is good.